I think ideas are especially hard to cover because it is in the DNA of journalists to be storytellers. And stories need characters, they need friction and conflict, they need an unfolding narrative. An idea can feel like a very static thing, but when you put the idea in the head of an innovator, when you see an idea changing people's lives, that's where I think a festival of ideas turns into a festival of stories.
Back to our special coverage of the Aspen Ideas Festival. We're here at the Aspen Meadows Resort, the home of the Aspen Institute. I'm now joined with Swami Partsartha, who's the founder of the Vedanta Cultural Foundation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you've got a talk this morning at 10:30 a.m. and this is part of the India track, and the title of the talk is Who Am I? And I'd love for you to give our audience a synopsis of what you'll be telling the audience at Pepke Auditorium this morning.
Yes, the idea is that we have lost our identity. Entire humanity has lost their identity, and once you lose your identity, you are not able to maintain a right relationship with the world. Like a person who is under the influence of alcohol, he has lost his identity, and thereafter he is not able to maintain a right relationship with the world. So when you don't have a right relationship with the world, you suffer. And that's what's happening. The whole world is infested with stress, not because there's anything wrong with the world. It's not with the persons you meet or the environment you are in. It is to do with your relationship. You're not able to relate yourself because you lost your identity.
And do you find that this is a particular crisis in specific cultures or just around the world?
Because around the world, particularly in the West. I find stress is more pronounced in the West than in the East. But East also is a lot of stress there. So you see, the problem is everybody in the world believes that the joys or pleasure, happiness is in the external world. That is why people are running after wealth and enjoyment. They believe the pleasure, happiness is in wealth and enjoyment. So two motivations that are driving entire humanity is acquisition and enjoyment. They want to acquire and acquire and acquire, and they want to enjoy. Find me one man in the world who is satisfied with his acquisition. He wants more, he wants more. I'm not saying it's wrong, but you base all your happiness in acquisition, which there's no end. You can't end with acquisition, neither with enjoyment. You could have everything in the world, you want to enjoy more, you want to enjoy more.
So if the answer is not to continue to acquire, what's the solution?
No, I didn't say that. I don't say that you should not acquire. You should not rest your present happiness on future acquisition. See, the problem is not in acquisition. The problem is, if I get that, I'll be happy. You know, there's a recent article, I read a beautiful article in the West, wealth fatigue syndrome. Now, what is this wealth fatigue syndrome? See, a man with a beautiful yacht, 250 feet yacht, sitting there, invites us, and we are all enjoying. But the other guy is looking at another yacht, which is 500 feet. You know?
It's a lack of content.
A lack of content. You're right. See, what Vedanta says is, you should be content with what you have and aspire for more. There's no taboo on acquisition. There's no taboo on enjoyment. But never should your present happiness be linked with future acquisition. And that's absurd. If I get that, I'll be happy. And you get it. If I get that, I'll be happy. You ask a man in a wheelchair, he wants legs. If I get legs, and you're convinced, poor man should have. Ask a guy with legs, he wants a two-wheeler. Ask a two-wheeler guy, he wants a four-wheeler. Four-wheeler guy wants a Cadillac. There's nothing wrong with it. All the time you're uneasy, discontent, and your present happiness is fixed on future acquisition. Therefore, you're always unhappy in the present.
So how do you achieve that level of content?
Read my book.
Tell us a little bit about the book.
What I mean is, you got to understand that you're blessed with oxygen. You're breathing oxygen.
Not as much here at 8,000 feet,
but still you have it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have eyes to see. You've got limbs to move. What are you worried? And you get as much as you want, but be satisfied with what you have. This is total dissatisfaction, ingratitude actually. See, the day you're born, you're given oxygen to live. Your blood pressure and blood sugar is all beautifully designed inside. Your eyesight is functioning. Respiratory canal is functioning. Alimentive canal is functioning. Why don't you be content with that and then achieve more? But that's not every time you're asking more. You understand? And prayer has become beggary. I want more, I want more. And you're ever discontent.
And is that the core values of the Vedanta Cultural Foundation?
That's right. To find satisfaction in yourself. Schopenhauer, Arthur Schopenhauer, is a German philosopher. He says, it is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. And you're all trying to find it anywhere else. I wish you all the luck.
Well, if you're asking that question, who am I, then there's no better place to be at 10:30 a.m. than at the Pepke Auditorium with Swami Partsari. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
We're going to be back with a whole lot more just after this. Thanks so much to Aspen Jet Ride for making the coverage of the Aspen Institute's Aspen Ideas Festival possible. Stay tuned. You were great!